understands the game. He's been around a little while. He's had some experience, good, bad, and different. Doesn't matter. It's experience, and it really helps you when you get out on the field and play to have been through a lot of things. In a lot of ways, it has the ability to quiet down your mind and slow the game down for you a lot when you've kind of had the worst things in the world happen to you and you realize, it's not the end of the world. And then you go out the next time and you're better because of it. And so I think with Sam Darnold, these people that say, hold on, because here's the dilemma that really the Vikings have. And they go, yeah, we're really high on J.J. McCarthy. And you're high on him because you're like, well, we picked him high. We have a lot of expectation for him, and they're in their preseason stuff.
Yeah,
everybody looks good in the preseason. Okay?
That's very true.
Most rookies suck their first year. They're not very good. Okay, and you'll see glimpses of things. You'll see stretches of things, and what happens is you understand a play. Okay, so you have a play, and the defense did this defense against that play.
Right.
And it's the one you understand. Okay, so then you do that play again, and they do another defense, and you go, oh, shoot, it looks different. And you've never experienced it. So the next time you do it, you stink at it, right? Or you get to a certain point, and you understand plays or you understand defensive schemes, but then things happen that you've never encountered.
Right.
And you go, and you panic. Because you go, I don't know what to do.
And the Sam Darnold line is you're seeing ghost.
Exactly. And that's exactly what it feels like. It's like, man, they had 13 guys on the field. They were everywhere. And so with a young quarterback, that you get that ebb and flow. And I'm just telling you, that's why Jaden Daniels did not look like a rookie.
No,
and he made it very, very simple and made it look simple all the way through, even into the playoffs. And winning a playoff game on the road as a rookie to a very good Detroit team, that says something. So quarterbacks, good quarterback play, young, good quarterbacks, that's a hot commodity to have.
Yes, it is.
And it's a real dilemma if you're the Minnesota Vikings to go, Now this Sam Darnold guy, we maybe we should let him go because we like the bird in the bush better than the one in our hand, and it would be a scary proposition because it's not a speculation on the future. You've already seen it. You've seen what Sam Darnold could do.
Right.
And another word of caution for people out there freaking out because Sam Darnold didn't play well in the playoffs. I can show you a lot of guys, almost all of them, who are Hall of Famers, who are considered some of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, who really struggled to win in the playoffs. Peyton Manning didn't win a playoff game his first 5 years in the NFL. Joe Montana in his first game in the NFL in 1982 when they went to the Super Bowl and they played in the playoffs, they were playing the Detroit Lions. He threw 5 interceptions in his first game. And guess what? They won.
Yes, they did.
In spite of his 5 interceptions. You know why? Because Gary Danielson threw 5 more for Detroit. So it kind of canceled each. And, Steve Young, he starts playing, and he's not very good at the beginning of his playoff career. And you can go through a lot of guys. John Elway got to Super Bowls, could never win one, so it's really hard, and I think it's very disrespectful of the game in the NFL to label certain guys as, well, it was a fluke that he actually played really well, and I don't know why we do this.
I think we do it because he's not someone that we see consistently go ahead and do or have those type of seasons. He goes from, throwing 15 touchdowns, 30 interceptions to 35 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. Like, where did that come from? Like, why did you all of a sudden not know how to play football or read a defense to then you can read it like
Peyton Manning threw a record-setting number of interceptions his rookie year.
28.
Okay. So, and I was saying it because I'm going to make a point here, and the point is that the league, for whatever reason, wants to pick certain players, and they want to build up and promote and make them out to be. There's a narrative that they're trying to convey here with certain players, and Sam Darnold. What Sam Darnold has to do, unfortunately, and this is just the Sam Darnold has to do it so much better than someone, even a J.J. McCarthy, because J.J. McCarthy won a national championship. He's a first-round draft. He's new. He's fresh. He's different. He doesn't have ghosts in his past. He doesn't have anything in his past right now.
No.
And so that's something that the league wants to promote, and so. It's just a tougher situation, and it's unfair. My whole point about all of this is it's really unfair for Sam Darnold to have had the incredible season that he had, and to kind of be in a position where people are like, yeah, we're not really sure about what to do with this guy. Now here's another side of this. Unless you had a comment because you were breathing kind of heavy.
I was gonna say it's. I agree with you because it's unfair that Sam Darnold has this double-edged sword, and he had a great season, but it's a fluke. You had a great season, but you had a great team around you. You had a great season, but you had a great defense. Like Sam Darnold can go out and have a great season, but someone's gonna find a way to double-edged sword that and stick it to him.
So, I hate this. I hate the statement. Oh, he had a great team around him. That's why he was good. Tell me any player in the team around him is who in their career actually was like, oh yeah, it's too bad he didn't have better players around. People argued all the time about Terry Bradshaw. Well, It's because he had all these great players around. He still had to throw the football.
Yes.
And he still had to call the plays, and he still had to execute, and he still had to make the play. I don't care how good, but it's the most insane comment I hear from people. And yes, it really fires me up. And yes, it's really annoying to me that they go, well, he's only good because he's got good people around him. Michael Jordan, who they go, oh, he's amazing. He's incredible. And he couldn't win championships until he got better people around him. And LeBron James is, and so it's not that someone's good or somebody's bad. It's that it's more than just that player all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're picking a team, why would you want to knock a guy like Sam Darnold and go, look, the guy proved it on the field. Plain and simple. Okay, he proved that he can play. And if I'm a team, what I'm interested in is here's a guy who's been through some stuff, because those are the players that you really want.
He played for the Jets and played for the Panthers. You're right about that.
You want someone who has a little thickness to him, a little toughness to him. A lot of players will tell you, I didn't start winning until I kind of had to grow a set, and I had to grow up, and I had to kind of get a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, get a little mad at the world kind of thing. Now there is another side to this, because I've seen this before. I've had this argument before, and I'll tell you where the argument was when Alex Smith went to the Kansas City Chiefs and played great. They took him to the AFC Championship game and had a wonderful season. Had a Sam Darnold kind of season.
Yes.
And they had drafted someone named Patrick Mahomes, and who was like, he's like the 15th pick in the draft. He wasn't even considered the top quarterback in the draft at the time. He was considered about where J.J. McCarthy was in the draft.
Yeah, he was always going to be that third or fourth option.
He's not your number one guy, right? He'd never played. All they did was watch Patrick Mahomes in practice. That's all they had. They had preseason and they had practice, and that first year he just sat.
And then they threw him in the final game in a snowy game against Denver.
And Alex Smith who was really good, they said bye-bye.
Yeah.
They said bye-bye. Bye now. Bye-bye. Bye now. Thank you for flying with us. Bye now. We'll see you later. Don't ever come back again. And I was kind of hurt by this. Cuz I'm a defender of quarterbacks always, okay? And I think when someone plays really good, it's like, how dare you? Right? And now, Alex Smith went on to Washington and was playing well until he got that just horrific injury. But Alex was one of those guys you go, this guy's been through it, former first pick in the draft and kind of had to take a backseat to call Nick. And so you have, a situation. So where they knew Andy Reid knew. Like, he was like, I think we got a good one here.
He saw the franchise arm and was like, yeah, we need to change.
Now, you hope he did, but he didn't completely know, right? And maybe he didn't know to what extent that he had, but he knew something. And they really they jumped up to get Patrick Mahomes, so they were really in love with Patrick Mahomes from the get-go. And I'm sure Andy Reid and all of his people and the ones who picked Patrick Mahomes go, yeah, see, we're pretty smart here. We kind of know what we're doing, and that very possibly could be the case with the Minnesota Vikings and Kevin O'Connell, because Kevin O'Connell is another one of those quarterbacks that was just okay. And so, he kind of understands the mantra, the mindset, of a quarterback. And the reality is I don't think Sam Darnold is going to go back to Minnesota. I say that because because it would be a distraction. It would be a division on the team. It would, in all probability, stunt the potential growth of J.J. McCarthy. And let me explain. So you're a wide receiver. And just so you know, wide receivers are selfish whores. Okay, can I say whore on the air? I can say that, can I?
I think you can.
Okay. and by that, they just give me the ball. I want the ball all the time. I don't care who the quarterback is. If you throw the ball to me, you're my best friend. Okay? So if Sam Darnold's having a good connection with the wide receivers at Minnesota, they're like, don't mess this up, because the other guy comes in, he may not like me. He may not be good enough to get me the ball, right? And so it splits it creates a division on the team.
Right.
And all teams want to do is win. They just want to win. They don't care if the guy's the 7th round, a free agent. If you come in and play and we win, you're our guy. That's all they care about. And if you keep Sam Darnold, he's already established a tremendous amount of confidence and credibility in his teammates, which is huge.
Yes.
It's the biggest hurdle you have to overcome as a quarterback. Do my guys believe in me? Like that's what that's job one as a quarterback. Instill confidence in my team and my coaches. Do they trust me to win the game? So if he stays there, it really makes it hard for J.J. McCarthy. And then Sam Darnold thinks, I'm the guy. Look, I'm out here. I'm doing all this stuff, and now I'm not the guy, and I'm on the sideline. He's not happy. And it creates this rift, and it's not a good situation. One of my favorite quarterbacks of all time in the NFL, and we were teammates for part of a season with the Miami Dolphins, and I just love this guy. And I just think he's great. And it's Steve DeBerg. He played a long time in the NFL, but he started out with the 49ers. And Steve DeBerg is he's kind of an outgoing guy. He's a consummate professional quarterback. Unbelievable how thorough. It was so fun for me in my career to spend time with him and to be able to learn from him. And I learned a tremendous amount. He was with the San Francisco 49ers. And they were, 1979, Joe Montana, Steve DeBerg were kind of going back and forth of who is the guy. And they really, really liked Joe Montana's talent, but they knew as long as they had Steve DeBerg there, Joe Montana would be second fiddle to Steve DeBerg. Mm-hmm. The player, he's just got this infectious personality, just funny guy. And guys you flock to him. He's just one of those personalities. And so they traded Steve DeBerg with the intention of understanding this dilemma. You get this split locker room, and for that reason alone, and I really I think for Sam Darnold would hope that he could stay with the Vikings because I like Kevin O'Connell. I like how he nurtures quarterbacks. You know, he's one of those coaches. If I'm a quarterback, I want to play for. But the Minnesota Vikings, they picked J.J. McCarthy in the first round.
Yep.
They already like him.
Yes.
They don't want to look stupid.
No. And they probably don't want to do like a Green Bay Packer where it's like in and out with Brett Favre and wondering if Aaron Rodgers is going to take over. I'm thinking, to finish this, kind of wrap this up, Scott, I think they should sign him to at least a 2-year contract extension. Give him a couple years. You never know about JJ. Maybe in a couple years, by the time he gets to the end of his rookie contract, he's not worth it, and Darnold's maybe worth another year after that.
You know, it's an insurance policy. It's certainly something. Yeah. I think there's a lot of value in Sam Darnold. I really do, and you know, so someone, because there's always a dumb team out there.
Yes,
somebody will really like Sam Darnold and pick him up, and he could, you know, he could fit with some of these teams. I mean, Sam Darnold could go to the Giants.
Can you see
Sam? Yeah, the Giants. Sam, you know, they're not a bad football team. And that you know, it's the type, because here's the thing, there are no surefire quarterbacks in the draft. Okay, Cam Ward, Shedeur, you know, I don't know, and there's not a lot of them. You know, there's a whole lot more teams that need them than.
Yeah, that's true.
And so, you know, you look at some of these teams that are close to winning, and you get a guy like that. I mean, Seattle, when they picked up Geno Smith. Kind of in that same, they were a pretty good team. They just needed a quarterback to play for them, and there's a few teams out there like that. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in Pittsburgh, and I'm like I said the other day, I was very interested in the older guys because Sam Darnold's a younger producing quarterback, so an old guy like Matthew Stafford, whatever, he's one that I'm going to pick him over a lot of other guys. And so Matthew Stafford, Sam Darnold are kind of in that same area, but Sam Darnold certainly has a bigger upside. All right, let's go take a break. We come back. We're going to talk so much more here. I'm not even sure what we're going to talk about, but I do know that it's going to be interesting.
We're going to talk about Zach Martin, retirement.
Oh, of course. Storied, amazing guard, Zach Martin retires. What the heck does it mean to retire? We'll talk about that and so much more. It is the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell. ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Bye. All right, sports fans. Nothing better than Queen. Nothing better than sports. Nothing better than being right here, right now on the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Your Utah sports leader. It's what they tell me. It's what we are. So I saw this thing. And anyways, welcome back to the show. Glad you're here. Glad to be here. No, I'm really glad to be here. I just want you to know that. I hope you feel that from me because I seriously am so happy to be doing this. I love this. I have been away for a moment, not at my choosing, but it's so glad to be back. So grateful and thankful to Steve Johnson here at Broadway Media for bringing me back to life. So I really appreciate that. Okay. Micah Parsons, we know who he is. He's a heck of a player. He's one of the best players in the NFL. And apparently he has a podcast, which I've never listened to because, you know, we all have podcasts. Everyone listens. Or I don't know if everyone listens, but everyone has one. And because we all want people to hear what we have to say. So Micah Parsons said, am I not any good at this? Or do you just not like me? You know, how come everybody else's podcast they like and they don't like mine? I don't understand. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me?
He plays for the Cowboys. That might be a reason.
Well, no, because if anything, if you had a podcast for the Cowboys, everybody's going to, even the people that hate you are going to tune in because the Cowboys move the needle. Now, I've never listened to the podcast, but can I just give my 2 cents? Yes. Is it okay for me to just – and I'm sure Mike is listening to the program. Micah, how are you? I feel for you, buddy. But here's what I've noticed about Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons is a guy that doesn't know how to hide his emotions. And I understand that you have to play with emotion and passion. I get all that. But he lets his body language or he lets his emotions impact his performance. Like he is frustrated. Yeah. Like you can see that he's disgusted, he's frustrated, he's infuriated, right? And it shows. Like you don't have to say anything. You watch him on the sidelines, you just see you just see it. And maybe it's he's young and he hasn't learned how to do this. But if you allow your passion to run wild and unfocused, then it can be the detriment, the death of you. And I think this applies to anything, but certainly in sports. One of the most important things that I learned on how to play, like I played 12 years of professional football, and it's hard. It's really hard. And one of the hardest things is learning how to get your mind in the right frame to function at a high level. And the worst thing you can do is let your emotions get the most of you because your opponent sees that, your teammates see that, the fans, everyone sees all of that, and they lose hope. And it will impact your performance. Like you'll do stupid things. You may miss assignment. There's a lot of things that it can impact it. So I guess I'm going to listen to Micah's podcast, but I really think that he really should focus on channeling his emotions in a more productive way. And he probably doesn't even realize he's doing this, because one of my favorite things in the entire world is I love to watch people and I love to read body language. Really come to, I almost want to say I'm an expert at it. So Martin, I've been watching you.
Uh-oh.
I'm always watching you, Wazowski. And you're all right. You're good. A little degenerate, but you're okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. You don't let your emotions get the most of you. Now, and let me show you. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you a little insight here. Okay. And this is a fun thing. And I've actually told you don't ever tell people this when you're playing, because those are your secrets, like little secret weapons, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're at the line of scrimmage and you're looking at the defense when you're a quarterback,
Okay.
and there's certain players you have to be aware of. And so like when you're going to pass the football, you have pass protections and you can only block so many guys. Mm-hmm. And the idea is to get as many of your guys out in the passing option as you possibly can while still protecting and blocking as many guys as they blitz. That's the whole chess match. How many guys can you do? And so there's usually a guy that isn't blocked. Mm-hmm. And if he blitzes, then you have to do something about it. You make adjustments. And so you don't know if he's blitzing until you snap the ball, and here he comes. But I knew. And I figured out how to find out if that guy was actually blitzing because of body language. And you want to know how I did it?
How did you do it?
I looked him right in the eyes. And guess what? If he looked me right back in the eye, he wasn't blitzing. And he could get up at the line of scrimmage and, move around and shift. And it's like, and I just look at him. And if he looked at me, I knew he wasn't blitzing because the flip side of it, if I looked at him, he would turn away. He would veer his eyes away from me. And like he'd start making a call. He'd look somewhere like this. And I'm like, that guy's blitzing. Because when you're up to something, which is blitzing,
right,
you don't want to get caught. So you avert eye contact
right
when that happens.
Don't bluff.
And Blaine Bishop, who was a safety for the Houston Oilers and then the Tennessee Titans, like he blitzed a lot in their schemes. And I told him about this, and he's like, man, I can't believe. He goes, come to think of it, I think you're right. He says, I never realized this, but I think you're right. So Micah Parsons, look them in the eye, buddy. Don't avert their gaze, and people are going to love your podcast, my friend. Come on, it's not that hard. All right, so speaking of the Dallas Cowboys, NFL guard Zach Martin is retiring after 11 seasons. Now, he was a great player and is a great player. I talk of as if he's dead. He's not dead. It's just a mere flesh wound. Anyways, he's a 7-time All-Pro, won 3 division titles, 9 Pro Bowls, definitely going to be a future Hall of Famer. And he's retiring. Now, that's sad. It's always sad for me when players retire. And I think it's kind of one of those it's such a hard decision because I'm one of these guys who says I don't care if you are limping when you go on the field and you're half dead. Play as long as they'll let you. Play as long as they'll let you on the field. Play as long as you possibly can. And there's another side of it that says, well, don't embarrass yourself.
Yeah, leave the game before the game leaves you.
Get out before you can. Before it looks terrible. And I'm not one of those guys. I am not. And I'll tell you why I'm not. As a young boy, I started playing football. And I loved it. And I was good at it. And then I went to high school, and same thing. And then I went to college, same thing. And then I went to the pro, and it was awesome. Like I had such an amazing experience with this sport, and I couldn't get enough of it. Can't tell you how exhilarating it is to walk into a stadium with 80,000 people and have them cheer for you, and you go out on the field, and you're competing against the best players in the world. And you're there competing, and you're there succeeding, and nothing like throwing a touchdown, and nothing like throwing a touchdown to win a football game, and nothing like beating your heroes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was so cool. Like I think about this, and I actually told him this when, here I'm playing Miami Dolphins, and we played the New York Jets at the time. And Ronnie Lott's the free safety for the New York Jets.
That's right.
And I'm like, Ronnie Lott's like one of my heroes in football. And I'm sitting here, okay, now I know I'm supposed to like compete against this guy, but this is freaking cool that I'm looking over at Ronnie Lott, who I think is amazing. I love the way that Ronnie Lott like played. I love the way Ronnie Lott looked in a football uniform. Like just the coolest dude in the world. And here I was playing against him. And so for me, that is the neatest experience you could ever imagine in your life. And on top of it, it was like my dream as a kid. And I don't know how many people actually have the opportunity to go, so I had a dream and I was able to live my dream. And I know for me, it was really cool. It was like awesome, like amazing. And I realized that like I can't do this forever. And I'm gonna roll around. I'm gonna just soak it all in. I'm gonna no, you're gonna have to take me kicking and screaming. You're gonna have to just drag me off the field. In fact, when my career was over, man, it was brutal. It was brutal from the standpoint of I still thought I could play. And I played out my contract on my 12th year, and my agent was talking to a bunch of teams. No one re-signed me. And for 3 years, I worked out every offseason, got myself ready, hoping and believing that someone would call. Some guy might get hurt in training camp or some team. Who knows what would happen.
Right.
And nothing happened after 3 years. And at that point, it's like, they ain't calling. It's over. And it was horrible.
Let me ask you this, because Zach's experiencing it today. The first week you were officially retired, picked up all your stuff, you went home. What was that like for you for the first week of not preparing for a football game?
Well, I was still training because so for me it wasn't like, okay, I was with a team and then I just said I'm retired. There was a 3-year period where I was still believing that I was gonna. So I wasn't with a team, but I was still hopeful that I was gonna play. And it was when I got up one morning to go work out, and I had this really fun, awesome routine that because for me it was like you're not going to have the luxury of a training camp, so you've got to train so that you could just walk off the bus and be game ready, And so I had this really it's basically I went to football practice by myself every day and went through a whole entire football practice as if I was practicing during the season. So I had these nets and I throw these footballs and I was putting the nets up and it just hit me. It is over. Like no one's called. They're not going to call. And I knew it was over. And in that moment, I just fell to the ground, literally. And I just started to sob and I couldn't stop. It was so sad. It was scary. It was like my dream, my life, everything I'd known. It's the only thing I'd known. And I was like, it's done. Like I can't like it literally. And they describe it like you're mourning, like you're in mourning over something that's gone. And I did this for probably a good 40 minutes, just sat there and just couldn't stop. And then I realized, okay, you can't do this anymore. But what can you do? And I realized that there was only one thing I couldn't do, and there was hundreds of things that I could. When I figured that out, I got real excited and I got really curious about my future. And boy, has my life been rich and full from the time that I actually left football. But from the time that I left, I knew I could never come back. And that was hard. And so for me, I'm like, boy, live it out and live it up. And don't ever stop until you're really, really done and you're really over it, because it'll never come back again, ever. So
what's the one thing you miss? Is it the bus rides? Is it the meetings? Is it talking to the teammates? Is it standing on the grass field before practice? Is it soaking in the sun before practice? What was the one thing you missed the most?
Well, it's all of it. I love practice. I love the whole process of preparing And practice to me was that, because you had so many meetings and you had so many obligations outside of practice, so that in the locker room with the players, out on the practice field, those were sacred private places. And I'll just tell you, there's nothing like an NFL locker room. People have walked into them before, and some significant successful people, and been intimidated in an NFL locker room. It's not for the faint of heart, and there's nothing is off limits. In fact, if our world was run the way an NFL locker room was, we would not have any problems in the world. So it's certainly the guys, the camaraderie, but and I also love practice. All right, folks, don't retire until you're absolutely ready to drop dead. Stay in the game as long as you can. What do we have next? We have Victor Wembanyama has been set down for the rest of the season with blood clots. I want to talk through some of that kind of injuries and what that means when we return. This is the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Hello, sports fans. Welcome back. It is the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell, ESPN 792.1 FM. Welcome back. Final segment of the show. Really quick before we get into all the good stuff. Delta Airlines has offered $30,000 per passenger for the people that flipped over on the runway. Crazy flight and all of what happened. I have my pilot's license. I understand that a little bit. My youngest son, who you are going to hear on these airwaves in the future, he is studying to be an airline pilot right now. But $30,000, I don't know, because I have a differing opinion about this. Like, what's it going to take to get you back in the air, Martin? Is it $1 million? $1 million?
No, if I ever had to get back in the air, something like that ever happened to me, you got to buy me a small island in the Caribbean. So you have to leave me alone forever.
Oh, I can do that. I'll buy you an island.
Yeah, I want an island. I want privacy, and I never want to be bothered again.
Here's the thing. So my uncle, who passed away this past spring, he was like 95 years old. Amazing, very well accomplished. Flew all over the world, and he was in two different experiences. He landed just before a crash, and he landed just after a crash at these airports. And he said this. He said, "I always felt really good because the percentages are now in your favor, right? Because plane crashes just don't happen very often, and so when one does, it means that the likelihood that you're going to be in one is greatly diminished. So I'm a big fan and believer of flying. I'd take the $30K and I'd get right back on the next airplane. That's just me. All right, Victor Wembanyama sat and is sat for the rest of the season. Blood clots are serious. I've had blood clots. I had them all over my lungs last year. I actually got 2 kidney stones that I could not pass, blocked off my kidneys, and I ended up in the hospital for 5 days. Uh-oh. And that wasn't the worst of it, Martin. The worst of it actually came because I had stents. And the stents, if you've ever had a stent in your tubes that go up to where you got to go to the bathroom, not pleasant. And when they take them out, not pleasant either. And they had 2. So they took one out, and I was like dying. And they go, okay, well, here goes the next one. Not fun. But I got, because for whatever reason, laying there produced blood clots. And they went to my lungs, and really lucky that I'm alive. So it's a serious thing, these blood clots. Why I bring this whole thing up is not to tell you that story, but it's a really tough line that athletes run to, like, how injured do I have to be before I'm sidelined? Because I know, I separated my throwing shoulder, and they said, no, you're done for the year. And I was like, man, I got to play. And it was when I finally got to start playing, and I was a free agent. And so I came back after 5 weeks. Brutally hard, certainly wasn't at my very best. Played with a broken finger before on my throwing hand, had a severe muscle tear in my rib cage. And I just know a lot of players who have played with a lot of injuries. And it's a really tough thing to have to do as a player. And I know today, and I don't think these players are soft today, but there's just so much more money that they're just so more cautious than they used to be. I don't realize people understand the brutality you take your body through just to play a game. All right, we go through so much brutality on the show that we play injured too. And by the way, I've been playing injured all week. I've been sick, and but I showed up, and we do because nobody treads on us. We're the Rattlesnakes. This is the Down and Dirty. Thank you, Martin, for pushing all the buttons again. Have a great weekend, everyone. This is ESPN 792.1, The Fan. Adios, amigos.